I worked the night shift at Pine Falls Mall doing security. Pine Falls is a funny town to have a mall, considering it's mostly woods. But in the mid-80s, the town saw a large population boom, and the entire downtown was built up as this modern urban center. Today, it's mostly just a bunch of offices and other industrial businesses, but the mall is still popular, as the only one in town. The mall itself is tucked into the side of the mountains, making it a divisive structure in the community. Some say it's an eyesore that ruins its natural landscape, but I always thought the architect complemented the scenery well and made for a beautiful shopping center. But I digress. The point is, the mall was essentially in the woods. I was a night watch, and my job was to occasionally do rounds and watch the cameras. The only other people there were usually the day security people for about an hour until I left, my boss for a bit longer, and the custodians until about 2 a.m. That means from 2 to 6, the entire property was quiet. My usual duties included doing hourly rounds and watching the cameras in between. Every other hour, I would begin my rounds where I'd go to several checkpoints and sign a clipboard. There were 6 total on all different areas of the property, and signing them took me about an hour? 45 minutes if I was quick about it. I would arrive back at my post and wait another hour to do it again. Exciting, right? That night was like any other night. Around 1:30, my radio rang out with a familiar voice. It was my boss.
Hey, can you come outside for a second?
This shocked me because I thought he had gone home over an hour ago. It was also strange because he didn't specify why or which door, just come outside. Hey chief, what can I do for you? Which door are you at? I can buzz you in if you need. I replied to no answer. I continued checking the cameras when I saw some lights flicker. The camera was on the west side, which was the back entrance of the mall. The door led out to the employee lot.
Can you come outside for a second?
The voice on the radio echoed again. It sounded strange, but I couldn't put my finger on what was so odd about the voice. I was about to unlock the door remotely when the voice came again.
Can you come outside?
It was the same cadence and timbre. Every time he said it, I watched the camera closely and saw the lights change again, and I noticed they weren't flickering, but instead, it was something moving out there. These lights were 8 to 10 feet up, and there isn't really much that could block them.
Come outside.
My running theory was that someone was trying to get in by faking his voice. I considered putting in a call to the police, but I decided to check out the door first for myself. The door was a short turn and all the way down to the hall. I marched to the edge of the door, looking out in the dark. I saw movement at the edge of the lot, a figure meandering around lazily, facing away from me. He didn't look like a burglar, especially not the kind that would go as far as to copy voices on our radios. I decided the safe thing would be to call it in, and I dialed the police on my phone. I called the non-emergency line. Pine Falls Police Department, how can I help you? The voice answered. Hi, I'm over at the mall, and we've got a suspicious person on the premises. He hasn't really done anything yet, but just to be safe, I was cut off. Hello? The voice questioned. Yes, I'm at the... Again, the voice interrupted me. Is anyone there? I hung up, frustrated and growing fearful. I tried the emergency line. The second I heard the phone pick up, I spouted off. I'm at the mall and we've got a suspicious person. I became aware of the blaring silence on the other line and hung up again. When I looked up, I just about jumped out of my skin. My boss was against the glass. He had one hand awkwardly pressing against the window, and his face was nearly pressed into the glass. His face was emotionless and flat, but his eyes, oh God, his eyes. They were dark and crooked. As I stared in disbelief, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with them. They looked like an ape's eyes, having a sort of animalistic primal stare. I can still see them in my mind as I typed this up. Before I could move out of my paralysis, he spoke. Unlock the door, please. Unlock the door. His voice was strange, as if he were trying to speak through a yawn, or if he couldn't control his jaw or lips right. Let me in. I need to come inside. His head gently slapped against the wall, leaving a wet, muddy print. I retreated back to my office and locked myself in. Trying the landline phone, it was also down. I was completely cut off, with 3 hours until daylight. I don't know if it was me coming off the adrenaline or just the overall stress, but I fell asleep. What had brought me back was the smell of wet earth. After slowly waking up to the strange smell, I jumped, recalling the events. I checked the cameras to find the door wide open, the first rays of sunlight shining in. My shift was over and I decided to make a run for it, seeing as both phones weren't working. I left a basic version of this note as well as a security footage timestamps so my boss can see for himself what had happened. Walking out of my room, I saw the hallway, muddy handprints and footprints all over the walls, floor, and even the ceiling. The smell was so overpowering, like mud and rain. I basically sprinted to my car and sped home. So that's my crazy story. Update. After last night's post, I got up this morning to a voicemail from my boss, claiming the security footage shows nothing but me opening the door after I fell asleep in my post. He's absolutely furious. I think I'm gonna call and apologize for sleepwalking. Maybe I'll blame it on some new medication I'm on. I'll post more if anything else happens. Update. Well, I think I can keep my job, but I'm on thin ice. I worked last night and my boss stayed for my entire shift, making sure I did my job. I was scared all night. I kept thinking I saw something out of the corner of my eye, but nothing else. Update. Holy shit. I got up this morning and went to my car only to find the trunk was wide open and the black earth was everywhere. The thing was in my car. I drove home with it. Who knows where it could be? I searched my entire house like 10 times, but there's no sign of it. I'll edit again if I see it again. Update. I haven't slept for 2 days. It's raining hard tonight. I'm wide awake, shaking as the smell creeps into my house. I can hear shuffling out in the darkness. Stones moving around in the garden. It's talking, and I'm trying so hard not to make a sound. The thing I've noticed about how it talks is this. Humans have a natural ability to pace a sentence. We know when to stop and breathe or naturally pause. This creature can't copy that. It stops in between words or talks during a breath. It was very unnatural. No one talks like this thing. I hear it at the door and I feel myself falling asleep. I'm gonna post this as it is and do another update tomorrow morning.